How many of us have used the term strong-willed to describe a child? Would you consider that to be a positive characteristic? Many don't. And when we have a child who is not compliant, many adults feel the need to break the will of the child. So when the child doesn't listen, they might be put into timeout for increasingly longer periods of time until they become compliant. This choice to be obedient, this obedient behavior, is it coming from the child or is it coming from external sources like the threats of punishment from an adult? Let's talk about what the will is. The will is driven by the horme. Remember, the horme is that very powerful life energy that is motivating self-perfection in development, in choices, in skills, in character. We can see the will manifested in very young children, and it's quite strong. That moment of the first intentional grasp is a manifestation of the will at work. The child sees something and they make a choice to go for it. The child first uses their will when they make an intentional choice. And we can see this in the very young child, and the will is very strong. They choose to do something and they will do it. The will is an evidence of strong character. When our children are grown and they have left our protection, we want them to be able to go out into the world and make good choices. We want them to be able to stand up for what they believe in. We want them to have a strong will. No one can develop the will of the child but themselves. And they do this through acting on their environment, through making choices of the things that they want to engage with. And each one of those choices is accompanied by a natural consequence. Natural consequences can have positive outcomes and negative outcomes. So a positive natural consequence would be being able to button up your own shirt. It's a good feeling to be able to do that. A negative consequence would be perhaps dropping a dish, the startling sound, the feeling of sadness that you've broken something. This is very powerful feedback, both positive and negative, for the child to modify their behavior, to modify the choices that they're going to make. The Montessori prepared environment offers many ways to support the child in their development of the will. The first is through freedom of choice. The child has the freedom to choose the activities that interest them. Then they're allowed to repeat the activity as many times as they like. And through this repetition, the child is bringing their body under control. They're also allowed to explore the variations within a material. And what this does is it not only allows them to exercise observation and judgment and reasoning, but some impulse control. They're using the material as it's intended to be used and refraining from perhaps engaging in pretend play. Last, we have the control of error built into our materials, and this I'm going to talk about a little later on. It takes time for the child to develop their will and bring their body under control. This is very hard work. We can see the will developed in stages. First is with the infant who is in possession of reflex actions. Those are outside of the will to control or the control of the child. So this, for example, would be stroking the cheek and you would see the rooting reflex. Next, when the child is a little bit older, we see intentional actions. And intentional actions are when a child reaches for something because they want it. They make the choice to go get that object. We also see this exhibited when a child starts to crawl, when a child starts to squirm towards objects. They are making this movement because they see something that they want. They are making the choice to move forward. After about the age of 1, we see the child exhibit voluntary actions. And these are actions from conscious choice. And also the child is trying out options. They're going to eat this, but they're not going to eat that. They're going to ask for help or they're not going to ask for help. Around the age of 3 to 6, we see the child in possession of conscious choices. These are an intelligent expression of the will. The child is engaging in activities because they want to, because these activities mean something to them. We will see children that are very impulsive, and they're impulsive because they lack the will to bring themselves under control. And that's okay, because there are ways that we can help the child to develop the will and to come into better control over their body. Around the age of 4.5, you're going to have children that seem like they're unable to make a choice and they are almost lost in the classroom. There's a reason for this. If we think about the age of 4.5 and the sensitive periods, how many of those 4 sensitive periods are fading by the age of 4.5? 3 of them. So for the first time, this child is making choices without the developmental guidance and power and motivation that these sensitive periods were offering. And they may need a little help. So we can assist them by offering some choices, maybe taking them over to a shelf of materials and saying, what on this shelf might you like to do? We can also give them a number of choices verbally to select from, maybe one from a couple of different areas. And then we can also model making a choice. And when we model, we want to show them what it looks like to think about the choices before we take the action. So for example, I think I might want to do the pink tower or the brown stairs or the red rods. I'm not sure which one. I'd like to do the red rods. You're showing them this thought process that we engage in when we're going to make decisions.